thank you for being here, and thank you for your service. Good morning. So let me get your reaction to the Republican chair of the House Oversight Committee, Trey Gowdy. Let me quote him. This drip, drip, drip about Russia is undermining the credibility of this administration. Is he right? Is it hurting the credibility of the administration?
I think in many circles, yes. I mean, listen, it's important that the White House certainly pivot, and you just said that they're going to be doing that to talk about what the priorities are for the administration. You know, there's already been some great work that's been done, both on Capitol Hill and with the presidency, but it is important that they sort of pivot and get off of this, because let's face it, there are some self-inflicted wounds here as well, too. At the same time, there's a lot of hysteria and sort of overplaying from the other side as well, too. But I talk to a lot of folks that are just on the street, regular American folks who may not watch cable news, for example, and they're not so swept up, and they're not so, hell-bent on every single thing being a Russian conspiracy. They want to see results. They want to see. But
Congressman, you would agree. Sure. You would agree. Surely your constituents care that American elections are secure. I know that to be the case.
Yes, because I hear that very often too.
So let me get your reaction.
Sure, but let's touch on that really quickly, because people are concerned about the integrity of the elections. But to see a Russian conspiracy on every single corner, they are not. They think it's overplayed.
Okay. So let me get your reaction then, because you've said, look, there's some self-inflicted wounds here, and you've also said you think there's some hysteria. And I know you mean, for example, some Democrats calling this treasonous, because you've said that before on our air. Yeah. However, here's what conservative columnists and Fox News contributor Charles Krauthammer writes. The Russia scandal has entered a new phase. There's no going back. This is not hearsay, not fake news, not unsourced leaks. What Donald Jr. and Kushner and Manafort did may not be criminal, but it's not merely stupid. It's deeply wrong and a fundamental violation of civic honor. Was having that meeting, attending it, saying, I love it, according to Donald Jr., is that a violation of civic honor?
Well, I don't know about that. Like, I have, with all due respect to Charles, who says it much more eloquent than I ever could. Like, it's troubling. It's inappropriate. I've said that also as well, too. So is the DNC trying to get information from Ukraine. Those are all inappropriate.
So that's not apples. That's not apples to apples. And frankly, you know that. That is not the highest levels of the Ukrainian government meeting with members of the Clinton campaign. That never happened.
Yeah, they set
it is not apples to apples comparison. So I'm asking you, do you believe that it is a violation of civic honor to have had this meeting knowing that it was from a concerted Russian government effort?
What I said was, and certainly something that someone else did doesn't excuse behavior of someone else. Let's get that clear. But sometimes we tend to focus on just what's going on now and not other facts as well. But I said it was inappropriate. I think it's inappropriate. I think it was a grave mistake. I think that the administration, if anyone had contact with Russians or anywhere, get it out there. Get it all out there, just like Trey Gowdy, Chairman Gowdy said before. No more drip, drip, just get it out there.
So do you think that it's believable then, because the ranking Democrat on the Senate Intelligence Committee, Mark Warner, I'm sure you heard this yesterday, also told R.J. Kaplan that he thinks it's, quote, unbelievable that neither the son nor the son-in-law ever shared that information with the candidates, with their dad. Do you think it? Do you buy it? Do you think it's believable that Kushner and Donald Jr. never went to the president with this?
I really don't know. I mean, think about when this was. Think about what the context was. This was before all the Russia hysteria. This was in June. I don't know. I know they had many meetings. I do think my senator, who I have respect for, we've talked about this, I think he's making a huge mistake in terms of, as you said earlier, what people really care about, and that's the integrity of these elections. So there has to be a policy that gets put forth by Democrats, by Republicans, that deters and makes it very clear to other nations that they will not, in fact, mess or meddle within our elections.
So if I could just,
I think that he's bought into the hysteria as well, too. I think he's overplaying it. 100%.
All right, I really want to get to health care, but I just would like an answer to that question first. Do you believe?
Which one? I'm sorry.
Do you believe that the son or the son-in-law, Jared Kushner,
I believe the meeting was inappropriate. I've said that before.
So I just didn't ask you that. What I asked you is, do you believe that they did not tell their father about this?
I really don't know.
Do you believe that or not?
I don't know.
Okay. All right.
I have no idea.
Okay, let's move on to health care. Vice President Pence and Republican Senator Susan Collins on very different pages when it comes to the Medicaid portion of the Senate's new health care bill. Listen to both of them.
President Trump and I believe the Senate health care bill strengthens and secures Medicaid for the neediest in our society.
This bill would impose fundamental sweeping changes in the Medicaid program, and those include very deep cuts. That would affect some of the most vulnerable people in our society. You can't take more than $700 billion out of the Medicaid program and not think that it's going to have some kind of effect.
So what is it? Does it help the most needy, as the vice president said, or does it hurt the most vulnerable, as the Republican senator says?
Well, two things. And listen, they're going to have to work through their differences, of course, to get something in the Senate. But look, Virginia didn't expand Medicaid because we knew that it started out at 5% of our budget. It's at 22% now and an unsustainable trajectory. There's not a sane person on Capitol Hill who will tell you that Medicaid is on a sustainable path. And furthermore, you have a weird distortion, actually a bad one, that has, when the Medicaid expansion of states and Medicaid expansion reimburses able-bodied childless adults at the rate of almost 90% from the federal government, as opposed to 50 or 60% for those who the program was actually designed to deal with, the needy, poor kids, pregnant women. And so the most vulnerable of our population, I believe, to get it on a sustainable track, you do have to slow the growth of Medicaid so that we, in fact, can deal with the most needy of our population.
So you don't think
Sorry,
that, for example, can you hear me now?
Okay.
Okay, it's like a Verizon commercial. So you don't think that the reduction in growth, the $772 billion reduction in Medicaid expansion growth for these states over a decade, is going to hurt people? Because Senator Collins is saying it hurts the most vulnerable. You argue that will not happen. Despite your state not expanding, I'm just asking, is that what you're comfortable with for all the folks across America that rely on it?
Well, let's be clear. There will be states who did expand who will fight against that. Who did, they're sort of incentivized to put people in the roles who are able-bodied childless adults with the reimbursement rate of that. I think you have to get a handle on this, or you're going to end up hurting a lot more people if you don't deal with the growth of Medicaid, which is an unsustainable rate. So you have to deal. And I'm not done yet. You also have to deal with the fact that we are hurting families across this country. There's a huge swath of families who have way high deductibles. Their premiums are insane. They're paying more than they're paying on their mortgages. So we're hurting a lot of people right now by not getting this done. And that's why leadership matters.
With those families. I sat with a couple in Kentucky who said, we can't afford this. It's over $800 a month for us. So I hear you. However, look at these latest numbers from this new ABC poll that I think are really revealing. It found that half of Americans still want Obamacare. They just want it in a little bit different form. 50% want Obamacare. 24% want the GOP proposals that are out there right now. Outside of what it takes to get the wins on this for the Senate Republicans, what about what the American people want? I mean, that's double the amount of people that like the GOP plan that say stick with what we've got. And of course, there are revisions that need to happen.
Mm-hmm. So here's a couple things. Obamacare has been with us for 8 years now. There are some good things that come out of it, like pre-existing conditions, like letting folks stay on their plan to they're 26 years old. We're not changing that. But in my opinion, number one, I believe we could do a better job explaining to the American people our philosophical differences, and that is, of course, right now ACA is very one-size-fits-all Washington. Healthcare is consumed at the local level, so we believe that it should be the states and the localities that should be dealing with that much closer to the patient themselves. But I think that we have to do something about it. I believe that the ACA is fundamentally flawed. So yes, I think that healthcare before could have been changed or tweaked, if you will, to deal with some of the issues that are the good things that came out of the ACA. But I think it's fundamentally flawed, and I think to not act is wrong. So I think leaders must act. I think Dems should come to the table too and work with us to fix the ACA and health care.
I think Americans would really welcome some bipartisanship in Washington. Congress